So let's go ahead. Let's get to my Big 12 power rankings so far. With, again, just 3 weeks left in the regular season. Now, this one is different. I've got a new number one. The Colorado Buffaloes are officially.
That must have hurt
it
you.
did. It took. Part of me died when I had to put CU atop this list. But Shedeur Sanders in Colorado right now, fresh off a 41-27 victory over Texas Tech, a team that we were saying was pretty dang good just a couple weeks ago. So I've got CU at 1. Now I know there's going to be a lot of people that see this and they're going to be like, "What the heck? BYU is still undefeated." They are still undefeated. But this is a team in BYU that hasn't looked good the last couple weeks. They didn't look good against Utah. They didn't look good against Oklahoma State. And I don't think they are going to finish the season undefeated as it stands right now. Kansas State, they are coming off a bye week. They had a bye last week. I still have them moving up. That has to do with some of the other teams in this conference. Arizona State, they are up to number 4 after a 35-31 win over UCF, doing it without their 2 best players in Cam Scatterbo and Keyshawn Elliott, not to mention RJ Harvey had 3 touchdowns in that game, and it still wasn't enough for the Knights. Iowa State falls 2 spots to number 5, still in the top 5, but this is a team in the Cyclones has fallen out of the AP top 25 as well. Rocco Becht still doing everything in his power, but the defense not necessarily able to do it. Kansas dropped 45 on their head this past weekend. TCU, one of the bigger risers over the weekend. TCU jumps up 4 spots after a 38-13 win over Oklahoma State. Watch out, TCU 6-4 right now. West Virginia, the biggest riser. They're jumping 5 spots after a touchdown victory over Cincinnati. They continue to find ways to win. Not always pretty, not always cute, but it doesn't matter. A win is a win, and that's why the Mountaineers are on the way up. Tech drops all the way from 6 to 8. This is a team that we were pretty high on midway through the season, but they just haven't been consistent when it comes to defense, and especially when it comes to winning games. That's why they drop. Baylor drops a spot. They were on a bye week this past week. Houston, also a team that was on a bye week. They drop 1 spot. Fully expect Houston to be back on the way up with a meeting against Arizona this weekend. Cincinnati, they fall 4 spots after their loss to West Virginia. Again, another team that Arizona State did lose to, but this Cincinnati team looks just vastly different than they did against the Sun Devils. UCF falls a spot after their loss to the Sun Devils. Kansas, welcome to the green. You are on the way up. This team looks like you said. They're starting to play like everybody thought they were going to play at the start of the year.
Not a moment too late.
Really, especially not for the Sun Devils, right?
Yes, that's
Utah,
true.
They fall a spot after the heartbreaker against their rival BYU. I'm sorry, Utes fans. I thought you should have won that one, but it just wasn't enough. I can't call in the favors with the refs. Oklahoma State, you continue to fall. Still 0-7 in Big 12 play. They haven't won a conference game so far this season. My goodness, got to figure it out. Arizona, you're on a bye, but it doesn't matter. You lost to the bye week. You stay put at the bottom of this conference. And Eric, those are my Big 12 power rankings.
Sure.
Anything you disagree with on that list?
Yeah, about everything. Number 1, Kansas. Put up the graphic.
Okay.
No, I'm kidding. We're pretty similar. We could take a look at mine, then we could talk about disagreements. I still have BYU up top. I just am going to respect the undefeated. I watched the game. I get it. I understand they haven't been awesome. However, good teams still find ways to win games. On the road in Utah is a tough place to play. I'm going to give BYU credit for that. I'm going to put Colorado at second. It is very close. I mean, we're talking like 0.001 differential, but I'm just going to put Colorado second. Okay. I think they're still a good team. I think they're still way better than I thought. Kansas State third, same reasoning for you. Arizona State fourth. I think that's pretty locked in and solidified as of right now. Iowa State dropping down to 5 after a loss. Not going to knock them down too much. Texas Tech, I still have up at 6. I don't knock teams that much for losing to good teams. I will say they did lose by a little bit more than I would have liked, but I think that they are better teams than the next 2 that I'm going to list off, even actually everybody else. In West Virginia at 7, TCU at 8, Baylor at 9. I still would take Texas Tech over all of them, but that's like the drop off between 5 and 6 is much greater than 6 and 9.
Yeah,
that's what I'll say. Even like 6 through like 10.
Okay.
I'm still going to put Cincinnati at 10, Houston at 11. We just had those flipped. I don't think that's that much of a difference. UCF at 12. Hard-fought game. They actually played really well.
Yeah.
In all facets of the game, just couldn't pull off a win.
Shout out their freshman quarterback.
Yes.
True freshman,
the Rizzler.
redshirt freshman.
And I have the same last 4 as you. Kansas, Utah, Oklahoma State, Arizona. So we have BYU, Colorado flipped. I think you have Texas Tech moved down to 8, and I have West Virginia and TCU at 7 and 8. And then we have 10 and 11 flipped with Cincinnati, Houston. So we're not on too different of pages here. I think we're about the same. We're in the same headspace.
Okay, so
word to Cole.
You can't pick Arizona State and you can't pick any of the 4 bad teams in this conference, the teams that were all supposed to be at the top. I'm just curious on your end, which of these teams has been the biggest surprise?
Biggest surprise. BYU and Colorado.
Yeah.
The top 2 teams in the conference. If you told somebody that BYU and Colorado were the top 2 teams in the conference at all 1 and 2 either way, you would have been laughed at.
Yeah, unless you were in Boulder.
Which, give them the credit. It's working for them. How long?
I would love to see a Colorado-Arizona State Big 12 title game.
I mean, could you imagine the vitriol and the hate from that?
It would be so awesome.
Yeah,
it
would be fun.
So fun.
We all silly like the mayor.